Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone's over there. It's a beautiful day at the home of Top Golf in Surrey, which is also known as Bugsy Malone's backyard and Spurs Talk Show HQ when it comes to transfer news, views and clues. Do me a favour, guys. If you are happy and healthy and if you enjoy the content, smash the like button for me on the video. If you enjoy it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Still on the march to 29k. Hit the notification bell, drop some comments, let me know your thoughts on today's topics. And there's quite a lot to get through. So chapters will be in the description below. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Get yourself a VPN if you don't have one. If you do have one, get a better one. NordVPN, in my opinion, is the bee's knees. You get a wonderful deal over at nordvpn.com/SpursTalkShow. And guys, there's two main reasons why I would ascribe you're needing it. One, if you are someone that is trying to access content outside of the jurisdiction in which you are in, and most of you are watching this from the UK, you know the prices of streaming services for sports, for content, for Netflix, for everything is always going up. You should also know that you can get that stuff cheaper elsewhere by repositioning yourself. So without giving you specifics of what that looks like, with a VPN, go and position yourself in a different location, go and access those streaming services, get yourself whatever it is that we like to talk about on this channel a lot cheaper elsewhere. Number two value, guys, if you know me, you know security has become an ever-present part of my conversation right now, and VPNs are a massive slice of the recipe of how to keep yourself safe online, how to keep your traffic private, where you go, what you do, away from prying eyes. NordVPN has the biggest arraignment of complex VPN solutions that can bounce you around different areas so that even the smartest minds can have a very, very difficult time trying to find out where it is you're going, what it is you're doing, and then the inability to know that protects you from the inability for them to be man in the middle. If you know what I'm going through, you will know that I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. NordVPN was around when this whole thing started 5 years ago. If I knew then what I know now, I could have protected myself and probably gone and got away with all of this, or the vast majority of it. It's not the full gamut of what you need. Other things are important as well, but NordVPN is the way to go, guys. And there's a wonderful deal that you can find over on nordvpn.com/SpursTalkShow. Get yourself over there, make the brightest decision that you've made today by getting yourself protected and getting yourself access to geolocation preferences that can sweeten the deal. The cost of a VPN will be saved in the cost saved by content access by doing what I've before mentioned. Let's get on with the show, guys. Right, lots to talk about. Chapters beneath, so you can jump ahead. First and foremost, we have to talk about managerial links, right? There's loads of them today. I haven't even got to sort of dip my toe into the kind of C grade, the D grade, the E grade of content aggregators to find some juicy ones for you. Even people like Paul O'Keefe are stepping in with the managerial names that should be considered and are going to be on the list. And he's obviously said that, yes, Marco Silva, Thomas Frank, and Donny Iraola, those guys are there, right? They're in the list, they're in the mix, they're in the hunt. Tottenham are looking at them, of course they would be. But on top of that, he said, don't forget, we can also be very confident that Edin Terzic and, check this one out, Simeoni Inzaghi are also on the list. First and foremost, I won't talk about Frank, Iraola, or Silva on today's video because we spoke about them ad nauseum. Edin Terzic, I did a whole video on him maybe a couple of months ago when those links first came out. Was it in January? I'll see if I can find it and put the link here or here. Go and check it out. I've done a lot of digging into this guy. Really interesting story, really incredibly intelligent guy. Been at Borussia Dortmund for the vast majority of his career, was brought in and took the team to the Champions League final. Sacked, I think a lot of political kind of backstabbing was going on. A lot of senior players didn't like a young guy coming in and telling them how to kind of, you know, break an egg, or whatever. That's not the phrase, but you understand what I'm saying. And ultimately, it didn't work out. But he's tactically diverse. He's an interesting guy. What I would say, though, his intelligence and his desire for control is probably going to make it a slightly bad fit, a worse fit than I initially thought. When I first saw it, the leak, I was like, I like this guy. He can do a little bit of everything. He can do back threes. He can change the game in-game. In-game, the things that you'll find frustrating about Ange are nothing like on the same radar, on the same GPS sat-nav as a thing you might find frustrating about Edin Terzic. Edin Terzic might disappoint or frustrate you with the style of football at times because he's a let's figure a way to get it done kind of guy. And so you might see a little bit too much adaptation in the tactics, out of the frying pan into the fire. But I think it's a bad fit because we already have too many Chiefs and not enough Indians at the club. We already have Scott Munn, who we don't really know what he's doing. You have Johan Lang. You have Fabio Paratici. Is he in? Is he out? Is it on? Is it off? We don't know. Milan, Tottenham, tug of war. We've spoken about that all week. Also, you've got the other guys, Rob McKenzie. You've got Daniel Levy, who promised to take his hands off the reins, but clearly can't do it. There's just too many people that are wanting and craving control. And Edin Terzic in that list is it's a greyhound or something that's just flying down after Bugsy. Bugsy's just like, I don't care. There's too many people that want control. And to me, adding another one in there who's got history as being a sporting director as well at Borussia Dortmund, they even created a role for him, such was that they wanted him to be a part of it, but they couldn't find the spots. They created a role. And as I say, if at Borussia Dortmund you have those sort of the delineation of obvious paths of recourse, and you have senior players that can go around the back, round the sides, and get themselves from point A to point C without going through traditional mechanisms of going to your manager first, that can be problematic. At Tottenham, I don't think we have as many large characters as you might see in the Borussia Dortmund's ranks at that particular point in time, but it's still going to be something that you have to concern yourself with. He's probably someone that, I don't know him personally, but he's probably someone that, you know, with his cravings for control also has ego and things like that. And it might be a little bit of a frustrating one. But as a manager, I like him. I do like him. I like Jack Kinnicky's take on it as well, though, where Jack is very steadfast in his belief that Terzic isn't the guy. And he gave a number of reasons. Go and check out his the wonderful Irish Hotspur to find out why. I'm not sure. I don't think it will happen anyway, because I think Daniel Levy would want another Indian in the mix. Anyway, let's move to the next one. Inzaghi, obviously, right? Hello. Yes, of course you take him. You know, I think under his guys last year for Inter Milan, they were the team that scored the most goals in Serie A and also conceded the fewest. A wonderful, wonderful repertoire of tactical nous that knows how to get the most out of the players that you have. Don't get me wrong, he's got some absolute top world-class talent in that team. And obviously Inter Milan are always going to do well in the Serie A. However, within there, he had some unbelievable scalps as well, some brilliant performances away from home at places where, you know, you would always give the credit if the result goes that way, no matter who's getting, no matter who the manager is or what team the manager is managing, if that makes sense. Look, I like the guy. Of course, he'd be another one that comes in with big expectations, big demands. Are we then pivoting back to a here now, win now thing? Can you convince him to take on the project? I'm not sure. Right? I think that what we're looking for right now is the key ingredient for me, which is someone who can balance the approach but lean into front foot football as the primary focus. But at the same time, you're going to have to know how to get the best out of youth, because we have so much talent coming through, so much, that you can't have a guy who comes in and is going to want to just, he's too young and not proven yet, therefore I need an experienced 28-year-old in that spot and just block the path. You don't want that sort of manager. You want someone that's going to come in and can make the best of what they have, ask for a little bit more in only a few positions, work within the budgets, presuming that we don't win the Europa League and get to the Champions League, and then take this team up on that journey to where we need to go to. Like Poch did all those years ago. Who will be the next guy? Well, one other name that's popping up right now is Xavi, ex-Barcelona guy. Now, is he a hybrid of that kind of brand, managerial brand, that everyone's like, oh, he's a big deal, but also someone who had to work under pretty restrictive measures at Barcelona and do wonderful things by, unveiling, releasing the shackles on a crop of healthy but and valuable and like highly potentialized talent in the Barcelona youth team, and getting the best out of them. He was the guy that he was the guy that first let loose Yamal, right? So he might be interesting, but again, I'm not sure he's perfect. All of these things are things to consider when the time comes. I'm going to move away from it because we've still been going 10 minutes already and I've still got loads to catch through, right? But here's the main point I want to get. I know a lot of you are going to disagree fundamentally with me on this one, and that's fine. Let me know in the comments. But I do believe that Ange Postecoglou is in all likelihood not qualified enough in my mind, from what I've seen, and it's just my opinion. I don't think he is good enough at this level. I don't think he has a tactical, a repertoire that's diverse enough to be able to handle the various challenges that are thrown at him twice a week in the Premier League and European football. I just don't think he does. I think his kind of hammer and nail problem and solution metaphor that I've used a lot sort of sums it up in how I feel. However, more important to me in my perspectives in life than whether or not I think someone is good enough is whether or not I think someone deserves it. And deserving things versus deserving the opportunity versus being qualified outright without necessarily seeing a clean sweep of like a clean plate in which to judge someone. Unfortunately, whether it's his fault or not, and the jury's out on that, there have been a hell of a lot of injuries under his time. They have kind of, on some level or other, have disrupted his ability to give the best chance. And when you are then only playing with half a squad, and you're playing twice a week, the performances of those that are playing are going to be a little bit numb because they're going to be exhausted. So it's a double whammy effect. Now, I'm not making excuses for him, but what I would say is if he loses in the cup to Frankfurt or to Lazio or whoever it be in the semi-final, or to Bilbao or United or whoever else in the final, then I do believe that he should be moved on and we should sunset this opportunity, this experience. If he wins it, he will be the most successful manager in Tottenham's history in the last 45 years. And with that comes, at least internally, a hell of a lot of benefits. Number one, those that doubt his pedigree to lift trophies and be successful surely would have to, hush. Two, he said he would win in the second season, and he did. So he wasn't bragging, he was right. Three, lifting the Europa Cup, whether or not the Europa League is easier or more difficult to win than the Carabao Cup, depending on who you get, is a debate for a different day. But in terms of the calibre, the status, the credentials, the gravitas, the points that get attributed on a coefficiency level, all of those things would tell you that the Carabao Cup is less prestigious than the Europa League, and therefore he would be more successful than any other manager. And for what it's worth, every single player who puts their hand on that trophy would be more successful as a Tottenham player and have done in their time at Tottenham what so many monsters of the game that have played in our colours haven't done. They did what Harry Kane couldn't do. They did what Modric couldn't do. They did what Gareth Bale couldn't do. They did what Jurgen Klinsmann and Teddy Sheringham and Gary Mabbott and Ledley King and Sol Campbell, all of those guys that are either heroes or villains of Tottenham past, none of them lifted the Europa League in their time at Tottenham. I don't believe, maybe I've just made a mistake saying that. I don't think that's the case though. But on that basis, that medal around their neck is worth more than just the traditional medal because they're doing it at Tottenham. The team that always get given that kind of bozo gene analogy because we always fail at the last hurdle, or we should be more successful than we have been. Well, under him, if he wins, all of that gets silenced, right? And what does that yield? It yields confidence. It yields a new energy. It will inspire most of the fan base who want to be positive and respect what that achievement looks like. It brings in more money. It allows him to go again. Obviously, we're playing in the Champions League next season, more difficult games, but more games to look forward to. The energy around the club would be transformed 180 if we can just find a way to win, 3 more games and draw 2 or whatever in the competition. And if he does that and then still gets fired, I'm sorry, meritocracy for me is more important than ego, opinion, or anything else. And this guy, for those reasons I've just mentioned, will deserve one final crack. Now, it won't necessarily mean that it will transform him, but it could. It could, right? Confidence is everything. Confidence in life is everything. Half of life is timing. The other half is luck. those things are largely outside of the control of the individual. The things that are in control, well, confidence plays a massive part. And I think that whilst the players are being rolled out in every interview saying we're behind the manager, we're behind the gaffer, I'm not going to sit there and call them liars, but I would imagine a lot of that is towing the company line, doing what you're supposed to do. There's a couple of players in the team that clearly don't play that game. People like Richalison, I would say, don't. People like Romero seem to have his own decision making around words and who he blames for certain outcomes. Whatever, that guy can sunset off to Spain if that's what he wants. But in terms of the club, can you envision? I'm not asking you to pivot. I'm not making an advocate. I'm not trying to be an advocate of the notion that suddenly I'm Ange in. I'm not. I'm just saying, if he loses, if we go out of the cup, I do think it's time to go. I'm Ange out because I don't have the confidence. But in a world where we do lift the trophy, and it's not unthinkable, we are still the favourites. We are still the favourites, believe it or not. And if we do, I don't think you can sack him. And even if I don't have that much confidence that next year that much would change, actually there is an element of me that goes, well, a confident team with players that have just come off the back of a Europa Cup, a Europa League trophy, that has done something that no one else at Tottenham's done for a hell of a long time. I think those things are meaningful. I think they are significant. And I think that with that extra money and going out to play those sort of 3 or 4 places into the puzzle, I think you then could justify and should justify keeping Ange on, giving him the chance next season. Because even then, if next season turns out to be how it could easily turn out similar to this season, well then you're closer to the World Cup and then you can move into the next managerial phase, which is who I want to see back in later, at the end of Ange's time is Pochettino. That's going to be difficult to happen anyway. So I am going to remain an advocate for meritocracy and I want your take on it. If we win the Cup and you see a next season where you have a confident team, a team of players that have got the wind in their sails, not the wind in their face, isn't that potentially an environment in which Ange Ball might be able to flourish and thrive like it did in the first 10 games? Was part of the first 10 games, not just because other teams hadn't figured us out, but also because we were top of the table and the confidence was high. And what happened at Chelsea or at Tottenham in that Chelsea game was just horrendous bad luck with the injuries and the sending off and all that stuff, and it all fell apart. And then from then on, the confidence fell, and then with it came the observations of how to overcome Ange Ball. Surely there is some methodology in which you can think to yourself, if he wins the cup, it would be unreasonable to sack him. Because if you do sack him, what message does that send? Tottenham fans are never happy. Tottenham Hotspur think they're bigger than they are. Tottenham Hotspur have been bemoaning lack of trophies, and it's why they hate their owner, and it's why everything's so gloomy at Tottenham, and Tottenham, yada, yada, yada. When you finally go and do it, and then you go, thanks, next. I'm just not sure that's the right message. I think that sets a really weird precedent. I didn't think it was right for Ten Hag at United, given where United are now. And I don't think it would be right for Tottenham to do it either. We'll see what happens, but I do want to get your thoughts on that one. I'm sure a lot of you in the comments will go, mate, he's out of his depth. Get rid. Or I'm also going to imagine most of you are saying, we're not going to win. We're going to get smashed by Frankfurt. It's irrelevant. I don't think it is irrelevant. So I'm going to keep talking about it. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about any more about transfers. About managers. I am going to move very quickly on to some of the transfer stories because there's a couple of good ones out there today. Semenyo, incredible player. Love him. Is he Ghanaian or Kenyan? I think he's Ghanaian. Brilliant player. Links with him today to Tottenham. Are we going to be able to take him from Bournemouth? It will cost a pretty penny. I really, really, really like this player. But I just don't see it happening for the price point. And also, I feel like there's a lot of players out there that can do a little bit of what he does. He's tough, he's strong, he can run with the ball, he's got the good whip on and the good cross, can shoot from distance, scores goals, yada, yada, yada. Is he the replacement for Sonny? Maybe, maybe not. If you're going to sign Matthias Tell on a permanent in the summer, that's the lion's share of the budget. I believe you can go back and negotiate on that anyway because he hasn't really set the world alight. There's also rumours out today that Matthias Tell could have his time cut short at Tottenham because on June the 15th, Bayern Munich have to go to America for the Club World Cup. And according to Kicker, I think, which is a journal out of Germany, that Bayern Munich might be able to recall early all of the players that are out on loan that have recall options in their contract. I'm not sure if Tottenham will be included in that list, especially if it's true that we paid £10 million as a loan fee. They shouldn't be able to take that money and then just cancel the contract whenever they want. But if it is true, then the argument that's been banded around the press this morning, guys, is that he might be cut short early. And if so, I mean, look, right now, as it stands, I wouldn't sign him. I certainly wouldn't pay the £50 million or whatever's left on the deal. If you go back to the negotiating table and say 30 million, then maybe. However, as I've always said, guys, there are a never-ending amount of players that can do similar things to what Matisse Tel can do. Is it too much of a small sample size, though? I think so. I think it's too early to judge. Let's hope that Tel can finish the season strongly. Let's hope that he can do things for us in the Europa League. Let's hope that he can find a little bit of inspiration and get that confidence in himself up to be able to show what he's capable of, to present himself to Tottenham's owners and say, sign me, I'm the missing piece. Semenyo, would he come in if Tel stays? I don't think so. I don't think so. But Tottenham are looking for another winger, and there are a bunch of names that are out there today. More links to Matheus Cunha. Spoke about him all week. I love Matheus Cunha. I think he's an excellent player. And at £60 million, the asking price or the release fee, really Wolves don't have a say in the conversation. If we were to go in and pay 61, I think it's £61 million, then we could have Matheus Cunha in a Tottenham shirt. And this guy, for me, can do a little bit of everything. He's great. He's dribbly, like a baby. He play off the left, play off the right, play through the middle. He's got a wonderful wand on him, lovely vision, looks up at the right time, picks the pass. That's where you get the qualifier. £20 million wingers are everywhere. £60 million wingers are fewer and far between. The lesser spotted winger, shall we call it, like a bird watching experience. £60 million, what do you need? Well, you need a difference. You need to see something different. And that, to me, comes in output, and it comes in the ability to pick the pass at the right time. Those things sometimes can be identified on the Y-Scout tool via looking at the stats. But remember, guys, that stats can be misleading, because if you are a winger that is putting the ball on the right spot, that is crossing the ball into a perfect danger zone, but that the striker doesn't get there in time or doesn't read the play and is in the wrong place at the wrong time, that doesn't count against the striker's stats, it counts against the winger's stats. So yeah, always have to, when judging wingers, always have to bake in the context of what it is that they're doing, how they're doing it, and if the stats look bad, why? Is it them or is it the people around them? Similarly, you can make the same argument for goals for strikers as well. Is it the service or is it the efficiency of what they do with it? But that's why you need a combo. And to me, Matheus Cunha is probably up there. Another name of a player that, of course, we would love, and we've been linked with today. It's a little bit crazy one, but I'm going to say it for you. Mohamed Kudus. £83 million release fee, and West Ham are ready to cash in. And according to all reports, and again, guys, these reports, I'm not having to dip my toe into the bottom ranks, the swamp of aggregators, of which I am more than happy to do on occasion. But today, these stories are coming from, you know, like the caliber of like the Give Me Sports, the Athletic, the kind of the Ben Jacobs of the world, the Matt Laws, the Paul O'Keefe's. These are where the stories are, the people that you'd lean into for more realistic sort of stories. And you're saying that Tottenham are interested in an £82 million bid, and West Ham would do the deal. Now look, I love Mohamed Kudus, don't get me wrong, but is it going to happen? Absolutely not. And by the way, if you want Mohamed Kudus, I know they're different players. One of them's more physical than the other. One of them's more direct than the other. And look, you can make the arguments all day long if you want to that Mohamed Kudus is a brilliant player. But if we wanted him, we should have signed him for 40, or what was it, 30, 2 years ago. We didn't. We went after Brennan Johnson instead. But now you're going to pay £80 million? You're not going to pay £80 million for him if you can get Cunha for 60 or Semenyo for 40. I know they're different players, but they all kind of occupy that same spot. And for me, Tottenham only need one player that can be that hybrid attacking force, and then they need a striker. Obviously, the links are always there every single day for Jonathan David. Now, I did a show yesterday, guys, that said Tottenham's net zero summer. I know people in the comments, we were arguing for a couple of hours around whether Romero could fetch 85 million, 80, 75 million. It was a really interesting, funny show. I really enjoyed it. But generally speaking, we landed somewhere around, if Tottenham were to sell Romero for about 70, give or take. You can argue whether it's 65 or 70, whatever. About 70. Bissouma for about 15. Bentancur for about 20. If you were to get anything for Brian Hill, throw that in there. Ben Davies, anything for him, throw that in there. A Veliz, who's probably surplus. If you can get 5 or 6 million for him, throw that in there. And Richalison, that we agreed was about £30 million, or £25 million, which would be about the amortised value of the player. And I think you could find that money. I think you could get that money for him. If he was willing to go to Saudi, you could even get even more money. But if you could do that, then you could raise about £120 million. Then with my estimation that even without European football, Tottenham could probably get about £80 million worth of transfer sort of net spend, if you like. Forgetting all the semantics around amortisation, all that stuff, just simplistically. £200 million, give or take, if you could make those 5 or 6 sales, and then you could get that money and then bring together a few players that you need, then could you go and get a David Hansko, who can play left-sided centre-back and left-back, sell Romero, bring in an Ousmane Diomande, who I absolutely love, this 21-year-old beast of a player. He stays on his feet, he doesn't slide in, he's not rash, but he is so strong, so good in the air. He's got a wand of a pass, not as good as Romero's, but very, very accomplished, coming out of Sporting, technically gifted. All the players that come out of Sporting come over with a technicality, no matter where they play in the team, no matter what their role is, they can all play football, if you know what I mean. The Diomande to replace Romero, Hansko to be that kind of left-back hybrid role. You promote Vuskovic into the team. Then you have a system at the back where you essentially have more than enough centre-backs, right? You've got Diomande, Danso, Vuskovic, Hansko, Van der Ven, that can all play there. And if needs must, you can also bring Archie Gray back. On the left-back spot, you've got Van der Ven that can play there. You've got Udogie, you've got Jed Spence, and you've got Hansko. 4 left-backs that can all play there, and Archie Gray if you absolutely must. On the right side, you've got Pedro Porro and Jed Spence and Archie Gray if you absolutely must. Maybe there's a need there to go again. Midfield, you promote Archie Gray, Berghvall, you keep Sarr, you've sold Bentancur, you've sold Bissouma. If you were to bring in a João Gomez for about 35, 40 million quid, I think that was the asking price, 40 million quid, or you go and get an Angel Gomez if that's what you want. I don't really want him, but if that's what you want, fair enough. And then you have enough central midfielders. So you've got Archie Gray, Berghvall, and Gomez that can play DMC. Maybe you need another one, I'm not sure if you do. In the attacking role, you've still got Maddison, you've got Decky, you've got Jamie Donnelly, Mikey Moore, Odebear, Sonny, Yang. You need one more winger. Throw in a Jamie Gittins for £45 million, £50 million, I think I said yesterday. Or whoever, a Semenyo, or a Mateus Cunha, whoever you want, that can do a little bit of a hybrid, and you've got the attacking options done. And then if you sell Richarlison, then all you need is a Jonathan David or someone like that that can come in and do some business for you alongside Solanke. And then when needs, you can bring in Matisse Tell up there. You can put Sonny up there if you absolutely need to. You can also bring in the likes of Will Lancashire or Dane Scarlett or maybe Mason Melia if he's that good. And I think that's, from what I crunched the numbers, guys, that is a net zero summer. Net zero. And yet you basically smashed it all off the park. And you've still got room to go and buy another DM if you really want one. Another monster at the top end if you really want one. Or a right back if you think that Jed Spence and Pedro Porro is not enough cover. Either way, the options are there. Are we going to spend what precious budget we have on a Mohamed Kudus from West Ham? Absolutely not. So chalk that one off. Are we going to buy a Semenyo? Well, he's a really clever player. I really like him. I don't mind it at all. But for me, I would love to see Tottenham get it right at the back, get it right in the wing backs, the full back spots, and get the 6 and the striker first and foremost. The winger's the last piece of the puzzle for me, the least important of all of them. I think we have enough options out there. I'd like to see us improve, but we need everything else covered first. And if we do that, guys, and, you know, even if Ange Postecoglou does win the cup, which I am rooting and hoping that he does, I think he deserves it. I think he deserves then another chance next year. If it doesn't work out, You know, let him go by Christmas, or we'll keep it going until Pochettino's finished the World Cup. Do I think that Xavi's got merit? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think that Simeoni's got merit? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. Do I think that Iraola's got merit? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably. Probably. I think that's the most likely. Marco Silva, too much risk. Thomas Frank, not exciting enough for most Tottenham fans. And either way, though, let me know your thoughts. The main takeaway from today is, if Ange wins the cup, are you a merit guy or are you a popularity contest? Let me know. Like, subscribe and comment, guys. And as always, bye-bye.